argument right now that Caitlin Clark has become the Taylor Swift all of women's sports.
Seen logo threes and buzzer beaters. Now, you know, Caitlin Clark has been the talk of the town for the past.
They know she works hard, harder than anybody. She's a goofy teammate. She shares the wealth. I mean, she gives Nike gear out like it's candy.
Easy to see why Caitlin Clark was the one chosen to have the shoe deal.
Going to be a monster. It is going to be the most popular and the most important shoe that Nike has released, definitely since the LeBron shoe, and maybe even dating all the way back to the Jordan shoe.
A $40 shirt exposed a gap in the sports world that Nike could no longer ignore. When the drop went live at midnight, demand didn't just rise, it completely overwhelmed the system. The same infrastructure designed to handle massive global sneaker launches suddenly looked fragile when faced with something Nike hadn't fully anticipated: a women's basketball fan base moving like a worldwide movement.
You know, she's the best female college player of all time that's coming out of college type shit. You know, they lost in the championship. They are still just showing this girl's face. No hate, no love. I really like her game. I haven't seen too much of it. I've seen little clips and stuff, but I really haven't.
What made it so striking was that this surge wasn't driven by flashy ads or manufactured hype. It was pure, organic momentum. Millions showed up at once, not because they were told to, but because they felt they were witnessing the beginning of a new era, and they wanted proof that they were there when it started.
I just sat there and like watch her full highlight clips, just whatever like great shot she shoots or whatever play she makes that's big and it goes on Twitter or TikTok, whatever. I've seen it, but I want to give respect due to this, you know, her, because again, what she's doing is amazing. Like you ain't never seen no female do what he doing, or no woman. So in that standpoint, I just want to show love and just see, you know, what's going on, like see what type of shots and like just the craftiness.
This is where the real story begins. The surge in demand didn't come out of nowhere. It was built over months of anticipation, with fans asking the same questions and getting no clear answers. During that time, Caitlin Clark had already become the center of gravity in women's basketball, pulling in casual viewers and turning regular games into must-watch events.
Get your hands on the Caitlin Clark version of Nike's Kobe Bryant sneaker. Battle up. They are out of stock. The WNBA star teamed up with Nike for a player edition. The Kobe 5 Pro Tro, decked out in Indiana Fever colors. On your screen. They dropped at 10 a.m. Monday, and they sold out before 11.
She wasn't just scoring points. Her deep-range shooting stretched defenses, and the way she carried herself showed she understood the moment she was in. That mix of performance and presence is what turned growing interest into a full-blown movement.
The $190 kicks are already showing up on the secondary market at close to double the...
Nike, a brand known for moving fast when it spots a star, hesitated when it mattered most. That delay created pressure. By the time the merchandise finally launched, it was no longer just a product drop. It had become a test of whether the industry was ready to treat women's basketball demand as real demand, not a niche. When Nike's servers crashed, it wasn't just a technical failure. It was a public exposure of how badly the market had been underestimated.
Right now that Caitlin Clark has become the Taylor Swift for all of women's sports. She's easily recognizable in everything she does, and it's turning new generations of fans to her. It's bringing new generations of women and men to sports that maybe they weren't covering before. It's getting a level of interest that is far beyond the game that's being played. We can continue to debate the career process for Caitlin Clark and what's going to happen. But what this shoe deal proves to all of us and reminds all of us is that there are sometimes some people are larger than any one particular game that they play. Caitlin Clark has accomplished.
The new logo arrived quietly with a clean, simple design that was instantly recognizable. The drop went live at midnight with affordable pricing, and Nike stocked what looked like a bold number on paper. In reality, it was based on outdated assumptions about women's basketball demand. The internet corrected that mistake instantly. Traffic hit like a wave, flooding the site, carts filling, pages freezing, and payment screens stalling. Even Nike's battle-tested system couldn't keep up with the surge.
Around greatness can have nothing to do with the conversation around being a cultural phenomenon. And now, there is no debate that Caitlin Clark has become exactly that. Think about it. The Nike historic shoe deal she just signed, she signed because companies like to make money. And no, they will make money. Because when Caitlin Clark walks into a coffee shop in the middle of nowhere, people recognize it. Because when you are on Saturday Night Live and every news and entertainment network along the way, not just sports networks, you've risen above the conversation about your play and you've become...
Within seconds, excitement turned into confusion as the system buckled. For a brief window, hundreds of thousands of orders slipped through before the crash locked everyone else out. The fans who missed out didn't disappear. They regrouped, refreshed pages, and flooded social media with screenshots and error messages. The shirt stopped being just merchandise and became proof of access, proof of timing, proof that you were part of the moment.
Released, it's going to be an atom bomb in terms of sale. It's going to be an atom bomb in terms of celebrities and athletes wearing them on the court. We've already seen that her CC colorways of the Kobe's are the most popular colorways that are being worn on WNBA and right now. This is only the beginning. Once Caitlin's shoe comes out, it is going to be...
What made it historic wasn't only the scale, but who drove it. A WNBA player early in her pro career triggered consumer behavior usually reserved for the biggest names in men's sports. This wasn't a manufactured campaign. Momentum had already spread beyond the league's usual audience. Nike didn't create the storm, it got caught in it. As time zones rolled forward, the same crashes appeared worldwide. Europe faced blank pages, Asia saw the same rush, and in Tokyo, fans even lined up outside stores, hoping physical shelves would succeed where the website failed. Once supply couldn't meet demand, a second economy quickly formed.
To predict, I'm not gonna lie, I think we're looking at Caitlin Clark's ad being one of the more viral things we've seen in a long time. Like if you look at the Instagram post on Nike, as far as I'm aware, the Instagram post has like 30 million views, which is, again, absolutely bonkers. Which is bonkers. It is bonkers to see that many posts, that many things from obviously Nike.
Listings popped up almost instantly, not from Nike, but from the few buyers who slipped through. On resale platforms, the shirt wasn't priced like fan merch anymore. It was treated like a collectible, sometimes listed for thousands. What started as product scarcity quickly turned into real-time monetization. Resellers and automated bots moved fast, grabbing stock and flipping it with massive markups that made the original price feel irrelevant. Within hours, the conversation shifted from who managed to get one to who could even afford one.
$28 million with Nike. She's getting a signature shoe. Unfortunately, she is still left to deal with all of the critics. Now, why are there critics? Well, because Caitlin Clark is white. There's a USA Today writer, his name is Mike Freeman, and he put up this post. No black WNBA players have a signature shoe. Jamel Hill, who always likes to make a big deal when it comes to race, she's whining that Caitlin Clark wasn't deserving of the shoe deal. It's easy to see why Caitlin Clark was the one chosen to have the shoe deal. Nike is just not handing out shoe deals to anybody regardless of skin color. This isn't a black or white issue, this is a market.
Nike's biggest mistake wasn't the website crash itself, but the vacuum it created. That gap let others capture the value Nike left on the table. Every inflated listing and viral screenshot was proof that the company had misjudged the scale of the moment. Revenue that should have gone to the source was siphoned into secondary markets across multiple countries. Even investors noticed. This wasn't just a sellout, it was a women's basketball star creating a measurable global economic event, forcing executives to rethink forecasts, supply chains, and who gets prioritized. As checkout pages failed, the internet turned the drop into a live spectacle. Frozen screens, error messages, and frantic refreshes spread across every platform. Within hours, the release became a shared online experience. Hashtags climbed, reaction videos stacked up, and the shirt turned into a flex, a joke, and a mission all at once. That's when it stopped behaving like simple sports merchandise and started moving like a fashion moment. The design wasn't loud, but the meaning was. People weren't just buying a shirt, they were buying a signal that they saw the wave early and understood what women's basketball was becoming. Culture and lifestyle media didn't treat it like simple team merch. They treated it as a mainstream moment that forced fashion and entertainment to pay attention. In schools and online spaces, the shirt even became a form of currency, traded because scarcity turns products into status symbols. When something becomes hard to get, it gains value beyond the sport itself. Caitlin Clark's name sat at the center of it all. The conversation around her shifted from points and highlights to reach and recognition. Her visibility started to resemble that of pop stars, where people knew the name and the vibe even without context. She wasn't just pulling in basketball fans, she was bringing in people who had never watched a full game and giving them a reason to care. That's the difference between a great athlete and a cultural force. One succeeds within the sport, the other changes who shows up, how they spend, and how the wider world talks about the entire category. Once the logo became a symbol, the message was clear. Some figures grow bigger than the league around them. Nike couldn't treat this like a normal sell-through. The first drop vanished so fast that the company had to shift into recovery mode, rushing production, resetting inventory targets, and pushing the supply chain to move like it was peak season. Factories adjusted, logistics partners reprioritized, and the entire machine scrambled to catch a wave that had already passed. The painful part wasn't that the product sold, it was how much money was left on the table while shelves were empty. That gap exposed a deeper mistake. This wasn't just misreading one athlete's popularity, it was misreading the moment around women's basketball itself. Nike planned as if demand would stay contained and the audience would behave like a niche. Instead, the audience showed up early, loud, and refused to be treated that way. When the rollout expanded into a full collection, hoodies, tees, and accessories performed like a flagship line, not support merch. The more product that hit the market, the more it proved this wasn't a one-night frenzy, but sustained demand. That's when the industry's tone changed. This stopped being a feel-good story and became a revenue story. Forecasts were rewritten, budgets reallocated, timelines shortened. The real shift was psychological. Nike wasn't just restocking a shirt, it was adjusting to a market that had already moved forward without waiting for permission. Women's basketball wasn't asking to be taken seriously anymore, it was proving it at the register. The rest of the industry didn't laugh off the crash as a viral moment, they treated it like a warning. When a single women's basketball drop can generate that level of demand, every competitor has to ask uncomfortable questions about what they underestimated and how far behind they really are. Inside rival brands, the tone shifted from feel-good storytelling to hard auditing. Who approved the forecasts, who downplayed the category, and who still treated women's basketball like a future experiment instead of a present-day engine. It's easy to point to Caitlin Clark as the answer, and that's true, but it's not the whole story. She wasn't just popular, she was a catalyst. She made casual fans behave like collectors, and collectors behave like investors. That urgency is what turns merchandise into a real market. The industry reacted because it felt like a new blueprint had just been proven in public. The next wave wasn't the shirt itself, but what it implied. A signature shoe is the real test of whether demand is a short-term moment or a lasting relationship. And if a simple logo tee could overload systems, a well-executed signature release could become one of the biggest basketball footwear moments in years. This wasn't driven by hype alone. It was built on something brands can't fake, a fan base that had already proven it would show up at scale. The impact didn't stop with one player either. Across the league, veterans, rising stars, and established names felt the shift in leverage. When one launch sets a new bar, every negotiation happens in its shadow. Agents reference it, executives factor it in, sponsors rethink how they price women's visibility, and media partners take notice. Networks don't pay for potential, they pay for proof. A surge like this becomes a benchmark in conversations about rights, scheduling, promotion, and investment. This wasn't just a shirt story, it was a market signal that will shape how women's basketball is treated going forward. The shockwave went deeper than revenue or website traffic. It forced a reset in how value is perceived. For years, women's basketball lived with a contradiction: elite talent, a strong product, and loyal fans, yet investment lagged behind. Brands treated the sport like a side project with cautious budgets and low expectations. One launch shattered that comfort. For many, the moment felt personal, not just a celebration of one player, but long